Is this the end of the NFC West? Mock drafts that don't make sense? And remembering Jaguar Jon. I'm Joe Trosian, and this is RamView, the April 20th, 2022 edition. And today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. But how fun is it to, again, come back and talk football and remembering a few things that took place. I'm going to talk about a trade that started off great and then went bad for the Rams a little further down in the show. But first, I want to play jerk. And some people say that's not a hard task for me to do, but I do enjoy playing jerk sometimes. So I'm going to start right here. And this is what I want to say. Would you give the keys to your kingdom to the wrong guy? Would you give the control of your football team to the wrong guy? Right? And that's the question that's facing the Arizona Cardinals right now. And that matters because they're in the NFC West. And it matters because the Rams play them twice this year. So forget about Kyler Murray having a bit of the punk in him. Forget about Larry Fitzgerald and now A.J. Green having some issues, although A.J. Green's was a little more subtle, but it still falls on lack of leadership from your quarterback. You know, if I'm the Cardinals, I'm looking to deal Kyler Murray right now, not ink him. Do I have a choice? Do I want to keep him happy or do I want to keep myself happy? And the truth is that as long as you are tied like the Green Bay Packers, who foolishly did not just cut bait and bite the bullet and deal Aaron Rodgers and go on with the next phase of their franchise and close the door on that era. Now they're hooked to him. And who wants to play with Aaron Rodgers? And knowing that he really doesn't care who comes in there, and he makes the safe throws, does all the things that come in there. He knew Devontae Adams was leaving, did nothing to change that outcome. And Kyler Murray doesn't strike me as anything different right now. And yeah, they've got control over him, the Cardinals do. And yes, they've had some winning times with him, but not winning times, not the HBO kind of winning times, so authentic winning times. And but there's just a lot not to like about him. And if they really liked him, I think they would have inked him by now. I think they would have said, all right, we got to do something to keep this guy happy. And so playing the jerk, if I'm the Cardinals right now, I want everyone to know who I just extended my GM. I just extended my AD. I'd want everyone to know that they're the guys in charge. And so, you know what I would be doing? I'd be looking to deal Kyler Murray. If he had just kept his mouth shut, got through the draft, then he might have had even more leverage on the Cardinals. But right now, if I'm the Cardinals and I've got picks, 23rd overall in the first round, 55 in the second round, and number 87 in the third round, this is a draft loaded with second and third round talent at quarterback. Might not be loaded with first round talent, but in the second round, there's all kinds of talent. There's from Matt Corral, depending on where Malik Willis goes, Sam Howell, North Carolina, Desmond Ridder. I think it would be a reach to take Desmond Ridder in the first round. And I don't know anyone's getting all excited about Kenny Pickett. And I could be wrong in a year, but I wouldn't draft him 6th overall like a lot of people have the Panthers. So there's going to be some talent at the lower end of this draft on the first day, or on the second day. I'm sorry, the second round and the third round are on Friday. But I'd make that move. I would, and I would go another direction. I'd tell Kyler Murray, go see if another team wants you. Let's let them see if they got a deal they want to make with us. Go seek a deal, and if they got a contract that's worthwhile they want to offer you, maybe we'll match it, or just deal him and take a quarterback in the draft. Because here's the deal in the end, you're not going anywhere with him. There's nothing about this iteration of the Cardinals team that is going to beat the Rams or win a Super Bowl in 2022 or 2023. Because as you empower Murray more, I think the less professional players are going to want to be around him. The less mature players are going to want to be around him. And they're just not going to put up with that body language. They're just not. And I think he's good. I think he's splashy, but I don't think he's consistent. And that performance in the playoff wasn't just about attempts and completions against the Rams. It was just everything about it was just bad. And so if I'm the Cardinals, make a deal. But then again, if I'm a Rams fan, ink the punk, give him massive dough, and leverage. Put your organization in in bondage to him for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. That's good for me as a Ram fan. But if I'm a Cardinal fan, I might be thinking, deal him now. Let him go seek a deal, see who wants him, get something in return, and be out from under him, because he's a headache. And I don't think and he's not good enough to be a headache. He's good enough to play. He's good enough to be a starter in this league, but he's not good enough to be a headache. Russell Wilson can be a headache. Matt Stafford, if he wants to be, could be a headache, right? Tom Brady, if he wants to be, can be a headache. If these guys want to be headaches, they can be headaches because they're that good. Kyler Murray's not that good. Lamar Jackson, who hasn't taken his game to another level, is kind of plateaued. But you see in Lamar Jackson the way he responds and works with his teammates. They want to play for him. They like the guy, and so he's not a headache. He's a player. Baker Mayfield, he's a headache. He's not worth the headache that he causes in so many of his actions and comments and everything. Kyler Murray is that way. A starter, but not worth the headache. And so that's my being a jerk for the Cardinal fans. Trade him. If you're a Ram fan, sign him. And as far as the 49ers go, as a 49er fan, I trade Debo. I trade him right now. I get what I can get for him because one, yeah, he's been banged up in years past, but when he also plays a game, the style of game he plays is physical. It's really physical. And to extend him deep in a contract and make him extremely highly paid, well paid, which you want him to be paid. He deserves his dough. You're going to put your team in bondage to the salary cap. If there was no salary cap involved, absolutely signing Deebo Samuel, but there's a salary cap and it makes him prohibitive. I like the idea of them trading him to get the draft picks. And my feeling for that is that if he goes, I think he has more of an impact against the Rams than Kyler Murray does. Actually, the truth is that the 49ers still scare me. The 49ers scare me more than Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. We're 3-0 against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. We haven't won a regular season game against the 49ers since 2018. And there's just something about Shanahan has a window into Kyle Shanahan has a window into Sean McVay's soul. And so I want the 49ers lessened. And the thing is, if a good move for the 49ers would be to trade Deebo. And to move past that, they need to keep building for the future. But what it does in the right now is it shortens their window. It allows the Rams window get a little bit wider because Deebo will be gone. They'll have to develop another receiver because they'll likely take a receiver in the draft. And then Trey Lance was named the starter. And I think Trey Lance could be pretty good. And maybe in a year, I'm just going, oh, no, they should have kept Jimmy G. But I like the idea of Trey Lance becoming the starter in Frisco because what that means is, again, the window for the 49ers this season shrinks because they'll have to develop Trey Lance. They'll have to give him half a season. And that first half of the season might be a 5-3 record. Maybe it's a 5 and or a 4-4 record just as he gets developed and then he picks up later on. I think he will be good, but by that time the Rams could have already extended and taken control of the NFC West. So yeah, the 49ers scare me. I get why they should trade him as a 49er fan. I'd like to see him go as a Rams fan because he is trouble, but I just don't think he's got long-term viability to be given another 4 years or a 5-year extension. That's the nature of the NFL. The NFL is brutal. And what did we talk about a couple weeks ago is that every draft for the last, 5 years or so, there's up to a dozen receivers that come out in the first through second rounds. I think they're projecting 11 in the first 64 picks this year to be receivers, possibly 6 in the first round. Okay. And we've seen that over and over again. There's a constant replenishing of receivers. And while we like Deebo's a great player, very few people are not expendable. Wide receivers are expendable, and so they can be replaced. So, but think about what's going on here, right? Jimmy G has got all the struggles. They got the struggles at quarterback, the uncertainty at quarterback in Frisco. Deebo wants out. George Kittle's another year older. He's got another cracked rib probably coming on the way. He's probably got another bad back season coming on the way. He takes hits. And they break down, right? So the 49ers aren't what they were. The Seahawks, man, they've fallen off the board. And so they traded Russell Wilson, lost Bobby Wagner. We don't expect much from the Seahawks this year. And the Cardinals, they got Kyler Murray. Sign the kid. And so the NFC West, which was the last 2 years probably the best division in football, has definitely taken a step back. You cannot call the NFC West the best division in football. It's the Rams division. And again, they need to seize this opportunity and really take advantage of possibly coming out of the NFC West with 6 wins. That would give a big boost because home field, right? You don't want to go to Green Bay, and you don't really want to go back to Tampa Bay, although we've proved we can play in Tampa Bay. So those are my thoughts about the NFC West. Looking at the draft, we're going to look here in a second. Again, I want to remind you, my name is Joe Tarosian. I do RamView. I try to do it 5 days a week. Thank you for your clicks, for your comments. I'm a writer and a sports writer, and I did that for 20 plus years at Mid-Valley Sports, mostly covering football. Now I write books, and you can pick up my books on Amazon.com. My latest is a explicitly Christian novel. I am a Nazarene pastor. I pastor a small church in Burbank, and this is a dystopian Christian novel called Sin Virus, but I also write football books called Tangent Dreams. A lot of people say I should just focus on one genre, but it's hard when I don't want people telling me what to do. So I just want to do what I want to do when it comes to writing. So that's what I do. And you can find those on Amazon. Follow me at JoeT13B on Twitter, JoeT13B on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook as well as JoeTarosian.com for some good sports writing and baseball sports writing. We got something from Steve Urena that's going to be posted today. So looking at the mock drafts that are coming in, I looked at 3. Mel Kiper, longtime girl, the dude with the hair, right? On ESPN. CBS Sports had a mock draft with a trade that they incorporated in there. And Sports Illustrated had a mock draft of who the Rams are going to take at 104. And I thought it was surprising that all 3 of these, Mel Kiper, CBS, Sports Illustrated, at 104, not one of them listed the Rams taking a cornerback at 104. And it really, of course, maybe they got a better insight to Les Snead. We don't know what Les Snead's going to draft, right? But it really seems like the cornerback room without Dante Dion in there, adding some depth behind David Long and Robert Rochelle and Jalen Ramsey, that cornerback room does seem a little thin. So it seems like they would go after a corner. But in the Mel Kiper draft, he has the Rams taking UCLA tackle Sean Ryan. Actually, I think he's an interior lineman, and they have the Rams taking Sean Ryan out of UCLA, who I have not seen on any boards for the Rams at all this draft season. And Mel Kiper has the Rams taking Ryan. CBS has the Rams taking Sam Williams at edge. We talked about edge yesterday and how you got Von Miller, but you're also running on the other side Justin Hollins, Terrell Lewis, Chris Garrett. The Rams do have some depth there. And so a lot of people were thinking that it wasn't likely the Rams were going to take a edge rusher at 104. Now, later on in the draft, absolutely. It's probably one of those perennials that you draft every year. A running back is one of the perennials that people say you should just draft one every year. Maybe not high, but draft one to keep the depth chart stocked. But Sam Williams out of Ole Miss. The CBS draft was actually a 7-round mock draft. And they don't have the Rams taking a corner until late at the end of the draft, the 7th round, which I thought was kind of funny. And sometimes I think when you look at these draft boards, is that they kind of have an idea who they want to draft, and they're not necessarily. I think they're just going along with a lot of other people put, And I will admit I haven't seen much of Sam Williams. I have seen him, but I haven't seen him too much on the boards. Now, here was the interesting thing: is that CBS had the Rams trading from 175. That's the 5th round pick they have at 175, trading with the Raiders to move up to 165 to get Max Mitchell, tackle out of Louisiana. Now, Max Mitchell's been popular on the boards. A lot of people are talking about Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, not LSU, but Louisiana. And so I thought, wow, that's a pretty good deal at 165. But one of the things that no one mentioned here is that Max Mitchell is projecting as going in the top 90. I mean, even inside the 100, he looks like in a lot of places he's going top 90. Sean Ryan, Mel Kiper's guy, he's projected to go inside the top 90, not even the top 100, inside the top 90. And so I don't think for the Rams, if Max Mitchell's going to be around at 165, if they want Max Mitchell or some of those other guys, they're going to have to trade up a little sooner to grab them. And then the other one that was listing somebody I thought was a tiny bit interesting was Darian Kennard. This was Sports Illustrated's mock draft for the Rams with their third round pick at 104. And they have the Rams taking Darian Kennard out of Kentucky. And Kennard playing at Kentucky, obviously, Liam Cohen, right? Rams' new OC, very familiar. There's been a lot of Kentucky players popping on the Rams boards. And so Darian Kennard's interesting. But when I look at Darian Kennard is looking as high as early in the third round, like at pick 65, between 65 and 70. Kennard looks great, 6'5", 340. They say he played left tackle in college. He could probably slide inside. Maybe he's the right tackle that it replaces Havenstein. That's awesome. But is he going to be around at 104 for the Rams to draft when most of the other boards have him rated high in the third round between like 65 and 70? Anyway, the more you look at these mock drafts and study them, some of them are a little lazy. Some of them are a little outlandish. And some of them looks like they're just throwing names around and such. And, that's okay. We could all throw names around. I want your mock drafts. I love posting and talking about mock drafts. But some players, it's like, the Rams need a cornerback, right? So I don't want to project Sauce Gardner, right, out of Cincy at 104. He's not going to be there. I'd like the Rams to have a backup quarterback. Hey, let's grab Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder's not going to be there at 104. Unless some weird news breaks the night before from TMZ. So anyway, fun to talk about the draft, keep talking about it, and we'll be posting more stuff about it as it goes on. One of the things that has gotten popular here as we hit the 17-minute mark is talking about this date in Ram history. And it's fun just to go over some of this stuff with the season a little bit slow right now before the draft. On this date in 1935, a guy named John Arnett, who became Jaguar Jon at Emmanuel Arts High School, he was born in 1935. He had a great career at USC, 54 through 56, was 10th in the Heisman voting in 56. And he was taken by the Rams second overall in the 57 draft. Same draft that they drafted Jack Pardee in, if you remember yesterday. Played at USC, played 7 seasons for the Rams, went to 5 Pro Bowls and was all pro once. He was a solid runner, receiver, punt, and kick returner, great broken field runner. If you look at old highlights, he wears number 26. I go, oh, it's Wendell Tyler. But he had a really nice career for the Rams, almost legendary in some ways because I would hear the name John Arnett when growing up. But, of course, I never saw any highlights of him because I grew up in the Jurassic period when there was no YouTube. But you might do well just to click on and see John Arnett and what he did at both USC and with the Rams. He ended up playing his last 3 years with the Bears, but he missed out. His last season with the Rams was in 63, and he was with the Bears through 64 through 66. So he missed out on the NFL championship year for the Bears in 63, went to the Bears at the end of his career, and then by the second year he was there with the Bears, they drafted a guy named Gale Sayers. So his time was numbered. And John passed away just this past year of a heart attack at the age of 85. But Jaguar Jon Arnett was a name that I thought was interesting. And another name I thought was interesting that was on this date in 2001, the Rams traded Trent Green to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Trent Green is the Wally Pipp in Rams history. Trent Green is the free agent signing the Rams signed before the 99 season that looked like he was going to be the guy that would run Dick Vermeil and Mike Martz's offense. And then, of course, he goes down, right? Blows out his knee. And a guy named, Lou Gehrig, no, not Lou Gehrig, Kurt Warner shows up, becomes MVP, wins the Super Bowl. And next thing you know, he's in the Hall of Fame. But everyone forgot about Trent Green. Now, Warner had a little bit of a hand injury in 2000, and Green played well for the Rams. And then going into 2001, he was traded by the Rams to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think this is just something that's completely overlooked. I remember who the Rams drafted in 2001, but I didn't realize that pick came from the Chiefs. The Rams got the number 12 overall pick for Trent Green. So think about where they were at that moment. And we know how history played out. And I just think there's bad mojo surrounding the St. Louis Rams and their deal with she who must not be named, Georgia. And they had an MVP quarterback, a Super Bowl title. They went back to a Super Bowl in 2001. They had the luxury of dealing Trent Green to Kansas City Chiefs for the first round pick of the Chiefs, which was number 12 overall. Number 12 overall. I mean, do you know what a number 12 draft pick looks like? I don't even know what a number 1 draft pick looks like for the Rams. But what an opportunity, right, to continue and perpetuate this dynasty. So the Rams drafted the next Warren Sapp out of Miami. That's what was said about Damian Lewis. Do you guys remember Damian Lewis? They drafted him number 12 overall in the 2001 draft with the pick they got for Trent Green. So great deal to get rid of Trent Green to the Chiefs. Bad deal because you ended up with Damian Lewis. And Damian Lewis played 5 seasons with the Rams. He only started 29 games. He only had 10.5 sacks. And then the Rams let the next Warren Sapp walk. He played about 5 more years in the league, Panthers. I don't know where else he went. He went to the Panthers. He had a cup of coffee with the Patriots, but never got out of training camp. But again, that draft pick is just one of the key plays, one of the key parts that paved the road to the misery the Rams were walking into after the 2001 season. There was a couple of playoff appearances after that, but then we know how dark that time was leading up till Sean McVay's arrival in 2017. And it was pockmarked with draft picks like Damian Lewis. And so I thought that was kind of interesting to look at. Well, it's always interesting to talk Rams football. And I'm Joe Terosian. And so thank you so much for clicking on. If you could hit like, if you could leave comments, if you could subscribe. My numbers have gone up. My subscriptions haven't gone up. And I know it's a bummer to subscribe, but we're just trying to build an imprint here. Really thrilled to be doing this so much in the off season. Can't wait until the actual season starts and we're breaking down game by game, week by week. And we'll be going into podcast by that time and extending these shows from, I'm trying to keep them 15 to 20 minutes, probably going to full 25. All right, folks, God bless. Thank you so much for clicking on. And we'll be talking more RamView tomorrow. And until then, go Rams.